Hello. This is a video response to this question. Angela, I thought we could manifest our SP back that we want, not just anybody. I want my partner of 10 years back. Lovely question. Let me start by saying there's way too much judgment in the manifestation community, okay? We've heard things like, if you don't get your manifestation, you're doing it wrong. If you don't get your manifestation, you're not persisting. If you don't get your manifestation, it's your fault. Listen, that is vile. So remove it from your life. Because the moment we start with the judgment of, oh, you know what? You didn't get it because you didn't do it this way. You didn't follow it to a letter. It has nothing to do with following a technique. It has everything to do with the comprehension. I'm going to say it to you again. It has nothing to do with a technique. It has to do with the comprehension. You see, let me give you an example. When you're learning your times tables, what do? You learn by rote memory. There's no understanding there. You just learn it by rote memory, repetition, over and over. 4 times 3, 12, 6 times 8, 48, 12 times 12, 144. Rote memory. But what is not understood is how you get to 144 with 12 multiplied by 12. That's what's missing. That is the disconnect. And there is the source of frustration for many people. Because we want that shortcut, but here's the shortcut. Comprehension is the shortcut. Why? Because when you comprehend what you are doing, now you do it not just deliberately, but with clear intent and discernment. Now, let's get into your question. Why do you want this person back? Question number 1. Only you can answer that question. Why would I ask you that question? Remember, Neville Goddard says you don't have to justify why you want what you want. You just have to want it. But in order to identify the state that you are creating from, you have to answer that question. But you also have to answer the question honestly, without judgment. I don't care if you want them back because I just love him so much, or I love her so much. I don't care. But what I'm wanting to show you is that state. Is it a state of, yay, what a beautiful relationship? Or is it a state of, oh my God, if I don't get this person back, my life is what's the point? They were the best I could do. If I don't have them, nobody else is going to want me. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Recognize the state that you are in. You must recognize the state you are in. You cannot say, well, I'm creating this. Neville Goddard says creation is done. Because all the states exist already. You just slide into the new one. You just slide. Well, if you went to church at all, when you hear you backslide, it means you've gone back to your old way. But here's the part with states. You could go back to the old way, but you can step into the new also. So what are you going to do? You have to identify the state as to why you want this relationship back. Identify that state. Because if you identify that state and you come across any level of anxiety, any level of desperation, any level of worry, panic, if you come across anything like that, now you know what state you're in. And you will not create a beautiful relationship from that state. Because that state is the seed. And you have to reap what you have sown. So how do you get into the state? Go back in your memories, because that is the nature of man. We remember and we reenact. So go back to the happy point in this relationship. The part where you were like, oh, aren't they so dreamy? Go back to that. Because that is a state of bliss. That's the state of bliss. So go back to that memory. And when you go back to that memory, notice how it feels in your body. You notice how your body responds. Cause and effect. So if you go back into your memories and you pull out the one, you select the one that's blissful from that relationship. Now you see what it feels like in your body? You have identified the state. So now that you have identified the state you want to be in, what's the scene? Because you want to put the scene together. Right? You want to put the scene together based upon how that thing makes you feel. So you say to yourself, "Ooh, this is nice. What would we be doing? What would solidify this?" Because what you're doing here is impressing yourself. You are impressing something upon yourself, because there's two ways to get something into you so that it becomes a habit. You can either do it by repetition, or you can do it by emotion. Emotion is the fastest because emotions are stronger than repetition. So that's why when you go back into your memories and you pull up the bliss, right as soon as you feel the bliss, you say, this is the feeling. Now, what is the scene that I can see or hear, smell, taste, touch? What is the scene that will pop me back into this one, into this state, that will keep me there? So step 1, identify your current state. Step 2, go back to a blissful time in your 10-year relationship. Find the bliss that was there. Okay? And see how it makes you feel. It can only make you feel blissful. If you end up with the, "Oh my God, is that going to work?" You're not in the state. You are judging the state. Don't do that. Just go back and capture the bliss, because it's already there, is it not? You don't have to put it there. It's already there. You're just recalling it and reminding yourself, this. See, this is what I want. This. And now you create your scene that confirms for you, because the scene that you create now from that feeling, now you say, yeah, that's right where I'm at. And here's the thing that Neville says. Return to that state as frequently throughout the day. What state is that? Every time you feel the bliss, well, then you see or you hear. And you say, yeah, that's the one. Now, here's the thing. Don't look at it in time. Look at it in repetition. How many reps can you do before you get caught up with life and you slide out of that blissful state? When you catch yourself having slid from it, go back by bringing up the image that triggers the bliss. Go back to it and slide right back into your blissful state. Remember, it is repetition. Why? Because there will come a time where you don't slide from bliss anymore. You just stay there. Why? Because it is natural for you to stay there now. Why is it natural for you to stay there? Because you have practiced. You've practiced that. Because every time you end up in a state that you don't want to be in, what do? Go back to where you want to be, so that over the times that you practice the repetitions, you will stay here. And it is the time that you've noticed that you remain in the state of bliss. Now it has taken on the tones of reality, all the vividness of reality. And that is when it materializes, because you have now stabilized in the state of bliss instead of going back to the state of worry and longing and wanting. I trust that explanation makes a little bit of sense, because you know what we do as people, because we rush the brush, we waste the paint. We want to go from here to here without any practice at all. Some people can do it. Well, they had more practice than you. Some people can do it, and it is absolutely amazing how they do it. But if you're not one of those people, every time you catch yourself, because it's a habit. Neville said we have to resist the urge to go back to the old way. You see, a habit behaves like it is law, but in actuality, the habit is governed by law. So I trust today that this response makes sense for you. Identify your current state. Identify your current state. You're not with this person right now. So what mental state are you in? You can't get them back from that state. So go back into your memories. You've had 10 years with this person. There must have been bliss somewhere in it. So find the bliss from that memory. And when you find the bliss from that memory, create a scene so that when you tell yourself, oh my God, I slipped out of the state, go back by recalling the memory. And so the repetition of you moving from the old state to the new state, because remember, the old state, you are stable over here. What you're trying to do is become stable over here. So every time you swing to the old, go back to the new, and the new will stabilize. But you and I have to practice something called patience. Patience, grasshopper, patience. Why patience? Because we keep going back to the old way and wanting to experience the new. You can only reap what you have sown. So take the time. Neville says the time that it takes for you to get stable from your old to stable in your new, that is when you know your manifestation is there. But you don't, look at what we do. We spend our time here where we're stable. This is where we spend our time. And we spend our time here in this stable place of, oh my God, I want, I must, I have. We spend our time there while longing for what's over there. And now what happens here? We slide further into what? Desperation, agitation, fretting, worry. Oh my God, now the thing you want is way over there. So you have to discipline yourself. When you catch yourself over here where you don't want to be, remember, go back into your memories and find the bliss. Now, if you don't have a blissful memory, social media is filled with things that look like bliss. I'll tell you this and then I'll land here. We have mirror neurons in our brain, which means we're constantly watching ourselves do something, because that's what you do in a mirror, isn't it? You watch yourself do something. So if you don't feel like smiling because you're cranky, if you observe a smile from anyone, you understand? If you observe anyone's smile, yes, without judgment, your body will release endorphins as if you smiled. Yes. So, but you know how you can cut that off and not release the endorphins on your own without having to smile? If you look at that smile and you say, heifer always happy. Who do you think you are? Now you have stopped yourself from releasing your own endorphins without having to do any work at all. So if you're going to observe without judgment. I trust this was a helpful response for you. Feel free to let me know. Much love to you.